So, collectively, right now on Earth, we are experiencing a increase in what the Akashic records referred to as shadow and fog. And so the kind of equivalent to those terms is malevolence and confusion. And if you have been on social media, if you've looked at the news, if you've talked to literally anyone, you will see that those energies have been fairly prominent lately. Particularly, the malevolence is usually easier to recognize. Confusion can be, by nature, difficult to identify. And that can kind of come up as distorted perceptions, um, thinking things are one thing when really there's something else, having trouble finding words to describe things, that kind of thing. And yeah, malevolence is uh, pretty self explanatory. Um, it can be some of these more extreme shows of malevolence that have been coming up recently collectively, but they can also be more subtle and um, like lashing out at a friend because something about their perspective or something triggers you and you want to kind of subconsciously kind of put them down. Or it can be uh, any number of things that are a little more subtle and everyday. They're not always going to manifest as these gigantic mass tragedies or war or things like that. It can be as simple and as complex as people thinking that they have a right to control other people's perceptions or their bodies, that kind of thing. And while this is definitely not fun and it's nothing new, we have experienced malevolence and confusion on Earth pretty much since the beginning. It's kind of coming up to a head, like it's rising to the surface in a much more prominent way um, now than maybe we're used to. And so, what's essentially happening collectively is these energies of shadow and fog, malevolence and confusion are rising up to the surface so that we kind of don't have an excuse but to recognize the role that they are playing in our lives and kind of forcing us to reevaluate our relationship to them and kind of forcing us to take a more proactive action and around our sovereignty and our boundaries and our protection. Um, hopefully, hopefully, it has been doing that for you and showing you where you need to prioritize your own safety and sovereignty more, where you can take action to do that. But ideally, and hopefully, this is also helping you to value the sovereignty and the safety of others in your community that's more immediate and in the broader community that makes up the entire earth. Because we're, as much as we like to ignore it sometimes, this is all our home. We all are neighbors in the grand scheme of things. And I know from my own experience, everything going on lately has been tough to process and has been kind of overwhelming. And sometimes it makes us want to kind of retreat and isolate, or it makes us just want to kind of feel fed up with everything and just believe that this is just how life is and there's nothing we can do about it. So, every man for themselves type of energy. Um, and what's really important during this time is to actually fight against that as much as possible while still protecting yourself and honoring your boundaries. But to really reinforce mutual respect for those in our broader community and finding ways to anchor in that respect and love for others in our community through action. Um, because it can be really helpful to mentally know that we love and respect everyone, no matter where they're from, etc. But sometimes we need that physical action to really anchor in um, that belief. Sometimes you got to put the action where the mouth is, money where the mouth is, kind of thing. Um, so that can kind of seem a little intimidating and overwhelming to think about. And not everybody is in the position to go out to protests and or donate large amounts of money or do really significant actions like that. But everyone has a unique perspective and a unique gift that they're able to help with. Um, and so that's really important. And one thing that I've been really guided to work through with my Akashic Records and my spirit team lately, um, that has been helping me find ways to do this and feel a little less overwhelmed and fearful because of collective situations right now, is connecting to my breath in a different way than I have in the past. So I I frequently meditate, have frequently meditated over the years, and I also engage with like breath work and things like that. And so what I've recently had a big revelation in with my connection to breath, and some of this was part of a pretty dramatic light body advancement and change that happened within my soul mechanism body, is that I had a reorientation for my perception of breath as breathing in and breathing out, and this kind of almost linear exchange directly in tandem with earth, breathing in earth energy, breathing out back into earth energy. um and more recently, it's shifted to where the perception is breathing through into my center and then out around me. And so what that has kind of helped with is reorienting my energy into a broader lens. And so sometimes when we're breathing in and out um, from earth energy, we can breathe in and out some of these same energies and frequencies and dynamics that we've kind of been in for years and years and years and years, because malevolence and confusion, like I said, it's nothing new. This earth is not a stranger to war and distortion and that type of thing. So it can kind of help because of the energetic connection to breath, to pull in the energy of breath from like a broader perspective. So, how I kind of visualize it is my body, my physical body, as a tube, essentially. And on top of the tube is a spiral of energy that is the center of our universe. And then either at the bottom of my feet or the bottom of my pelvis area, depending on how I'm sitting or what I'm doing, at the bottom of that tube is um, another spiral, which represents the center of our galaxy. And both of these points are still an extension of our home, just like Earth is our home. It's just viewing our home from a broader perspective, and it's pulling energy from a little bit more of an infinite source. And it's also pulling energy from a framework that expands beyond the, for lack of a better term, limited capacity of energy on Earth, and the cycles and the frameworks and the beliefs that are um, held here on Earth. And so by breathing through and around, you're also kind of reorienting that perspective from an a concept of pulling and taking from Earth, using that, and then giving it back to Earth, which, the exchange of oxygen and carbon, um, is it monoxide or dioxide? I don't know. I can't remember at this moment. Um, Still is technically an adequate energetic exchange that's balanced and benefits Earth as well. But it's kind of more of this pulling, and it's this more, there's more tension in it. And again, some of the concept is of it being a little bit more limited. And so when you're reorienting your framework of breath in this other way, which at this point, even without intentionally doing it, my body just naturally, that's how my body engages with the energy of breath, um, at all times nowadays. But this is orienting yourself more as the bridge connecting these two expressions of home, and pulling this energy through you, and then also expanding it around you, but it's not pulling it and then it leaving you. It's still staying, excuse me, it's still staying within your energy. So it's more self-sustaining, and it can actually build up your energy and expand the amount of energetic space you're capable of taking up, and can be a pretty powerful tool for self harmonization and self healing. So, for example, you can keep it pretty simple and just visualize pulling from these centers, the center of our universe, the center of our galaxy beneath us, pulling them equally and evenly through the tube of our bodies into the very center of us, pulling it through, just visualizing that concept of essentially source energy, um, through and into your energy body. As you maybe hold that breath in, you're feeling it kind of expand through the physical body, down into the tips of our fingers, into our skull, down through our toes. And then as you're exhaling out, that energy is expanding out in all directions, filling that bubble, and then kind of inverting in and wrapping and filling and really permeating the energy of our energy body, that sphere that makes up our soul mechanism body, at least in the way that I perceive energy bodies. And so it can be really helpful also to be specific about what energy you want to pull through. And so you can use this strategically, or you can just use it more intuitively based on just what comes to mind and what you just feel you need in that moment. Some really beneficial energies are awareness, um, and or even Akashic light. Um, but I will use them both usually, especially when I'm connecting with my Akashic records. Pulling through awareness, explaining it out around you when you want to understand something more clearly, um, or pulling through love, of course. Um, and you can pull through harmony if you just want to kind of balance out your energy body more. And you can also pull through things like trust, or pulling through clarity, or pulling through peace. And the list goes on and on and on. And so you can really play around with it and get adventurous and experimental. And that has been really helpful for me, because our connection to breath is what helps bind and connect our soul and our energy to our physical vessels, which helps us embody ourselves more fully, especially when breathing in this way consciously and with intention. And breathing through in this way helps us connect with our bodies on a way that still honors our experiences on earth, and the fact that these vessels are built from this earth, and um, are meant to live and thrive on this earth. But it also allows us to connect with this broader expression and wisdoms that exist beyond just earth. So wisdoms that exist, because breath is so tied to intelligence and knowledge, and the voice and such. It allows us to connect with the energy and frequency of these concepts from this broader lens of different realms that exist around Earth, but also different planets and galaxies that live within this galaxy and this universe, that have different opinions, different perspectives, different ways of working with things. And so when we're pulling them through our energy and into our physical body, we're still seeing through the lens that's needed on this earth, but we're able to kind of have new ideas and new realizations, and we're able to reorient and reframe our perspective of things. And so that's really beneficial and helpful, so that we can um essentially find new ways to take action, and to re rebuild Earth in a way that honors and respects everyone in a more harmonious way. And that's very much needed right now. And some of why this is happening right now is this collective transformation of breath, because I'm confident I'm not the only person who's been experiencing this. Um, and it's probably just going to become more common and more frequent, that this is helping to prepare us for how to take these actions in new ways, and ways that apply to earth, but come from this zoomed out and more inclusive and expansive awareness of things. um, so I just wanted to kind of share that. I do have a more intensive deep dive talking about my experience with my personal transformation of breath and how that occurred for me, and some other insights about collective things, and more detailed information over on my Patreon, which I have the link in the description below. But I just wanted to kind of pop onto my YouTube channel and just discuss this for a few minutes, and kind of share this perspective. And if you come to my embodiment weaving meditations that are free, that I host weekly, either on Zoom or in my local area, then you've probably already been experimenting with some of these different ways of breathing with me, because I've been doing this work and kind of getting a handle on this new perspective and way of connecting to energy and breath, for the last couple of months. So, yeah, just wanted to share. Um, Drop some comments below. Let me know if you have any questions, like if there's anything that you want me to maybe go into more depth on, if maybe there's something that you'd like for me to explain a little more or give some different perspective on. Um, if you want me to maybe do some guided meditations for YouTube specifically, um, using this reframe, perception of breath, or maybe talking about this collective, um, um, illumination and rising of shadow and fog that's happening, or just anything in general. Let me know what your thoughts are. How have you been connecting to your breath lately? Have you noticed anything different? Have you been being more drawn to breath work or other ways of connecting with your breath? I would love to hear about that. Yeah. Uh, Please like and subscribe if this was interesting. I'm trying to get on and be more vocal, talking about these concepts and these different things that I've been working with my spirit team and record keeper on, and things that normally I just discuss with my Patreon or my students, that I teach. But I want to be able to share this more freely for anybody who comes across it, because I understand, money's funny lately. So yeah, I love you. Thank you for listening for this long. And if there's anything at all, that you have questions about, please feel free to drop them, and I will do my best to maybe post another video answering. All right. Thank you. Bye.